when I am writing a poem, for me, it comes from a place of inspiration. So I get inspiration. Every day I'm inspired by something. I'm inspired by the way I feel. I'm inspired by an event. I get inspiration from what happened, even from other people, what they went through. And when I see it or I hear about it, I have an idea. And that's how I get to write poems. Okay. So with that said, let's say, for instance, let's construct a poem together today on this platform. Okay, so let's think of give and take. So the heading is give and take. Okay, so within give and take, I am thinking of I give, I take. So I don't take before I give and then I take. So this is what I think about. So let's say, for instance, or rather, let's get this metaphorically constructed. Let's say there is this truth and there is a consciousness and a knowing that all streams run into the ocean, right? All rivers flow into the oceans. So water goes to where water is, okay? If I am expecting love, I need to give love. So whatever I'm expecting to get, it means I should give. So water goes to where water is, right? So if I'm going to construct something, right, say a poem using this line or school of thought, what am I going to use? I'm going to think of flow. I'm going to think of what? I'm going to think of direction. I'm going to think of, yes, the hand then. The hand again will be allegorically used as the giving and the taking. So I can't give with my head. I have to give with my hand. So the hand would definitely be used metaphorically in my poem as the give and take. And so this is a rhythm. So this is a flow. And this does not move backwards. It moves forward. So the word forward is going to be in the poem construction. Movement then is also going to be in the poem construction. And then flow is going to be in the poem construction. So these are all adjectives or verbs, let me just say words, that are as ideas or are as small leaves, or rather as small branches. Okay, so I'm going to take all of these ideas or school of thoughts of words, and then I'm going to put them together to create my tree. Okay, fine. And then that is how I'm going to construct my poem. Okay, I think that is a bit ambiguous. Okay, let me simplify that. So I'm going to create a poem using ideas or words that accumulatively will tell a story. But these words have to be relative. They should not be singled out. They should be relative to one another in order to come into a blend for me to construct a poem. But then I also need to think of the emotion, the emotive that I want to create. Do I want to create joyful emotion? Do I want to invoke joy? Do I want to invoke love? Do I want to invoke sadness? Do I want to invoke I don't know what kind of emotion you can think of. What is it that I'm trying to invoke at the end of the day by this poem that I have, that I'm trying to write? Okay, so the emotion comes into play, the objective at the end of the day. So with these different school of thoughts or these different ideas that I have put together at the end of the day creates my poem. Okay, so I talked about the hand. I talked about the movement, the direction, the flow. Okay, so you'll find that within poetry, there is a lot of allegories. There is a lot of metaphors. There is a lot of personification. Okay, so an entity can take on a persona. All right, a tree can become a person. Okay, so water can then become an emotion. So it takes on different emotions and it takes on different personalities. Okay, so in my next video, we are going to, not I'm gonna, is it such a word as I'm gonna? Is it grammatically correct to say I am gonna? Okay, I'm not sure, but you decide. Let me know in the comment section if the sentence construction I am gonna is grammatically correct. When we talk about something being grammatically correct, we are talking about the subject and verb agreement. We are talking about coherence. We are talking about the flow. Is it, the flow, is it correct? Okay. Is it something readable? Is the subject and the verb in agreement? Are your adjectives and your adverbs correctly placed? So are you starting your sentences with capital letters? Are you ending your sentences with full stops? Are you ending your sentences with prepositions, which is totally wrong? And all of that. And are your conjunctions, the to and the and, all those, are they in the proper spot in your writing, in the proper place in your writing? Okay. Now I feel like I said so much. That's like a mouthful. Back to poetry, guys. Let me not digress. So poetry seeks to invoke emotion. Poetry seeks to tell a story. Poetry is just a healthy way of playing with words in a beautiful way. Think of a love story. I think all love stories should have poetry. I think the story of Romeo and Juliet should have poetry in it. I don't know what other stories you can think of, love stories, not where somebody dies. And I also don't understand, why is it that in love stories somebody dies? Love and death. How do you balance love and death? I love you, but you are not there. So if you are not there, do I continue loving you? Do I still love you while you are there? So love and death, I want to understand the balance of it in stories. I want to understand the balance of love and death in storytelling, in literature. Here's my thought though. Love and death. Some people make statements like, I love you till death. And when people are making their vows, they say, death do you part. So love actually has a deadline, an expiry date. I think we should re-look at our storytelling with the incorporation of love and death. How about love and life? The spring of life. Love as in like the wells of life. Love you forever, eternal. Why don't we think about eternal life and love? Why do we think of death and love? And it's so portrayed in so many stories. And I think it's something that authors need to look at and do away with, especially within their storytelling. Okay, so let me not digress any further. I am gonna talk about love and death more. Before I leave, I think something. Love and death. So some people say that love is as strong as death. That once you are in love, it's something that you can't escape. It's something you can't control. But why should love not be controlled? If it's truly love. I mean, when you look at the definition of love in itself, love, according to the Bible, love is patient, love is kind, love does not boast. There is a level of control within the words patience, kindness, meekness. There is control. There's a nuance of control in that. And so the juxtaposed, it's how do they run so parallel in stories, love and death? And so I think when people stop loving one another, it feels like death. And I think that's why it runs parallel than in most literature and most stories, in most love stories. Okay, that's just by the way. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my video. So again, please subscribe, guys. Please subscribe for more content. So next time when I come, we will pick up on give and take, and we will construct a poem using that title or that subject or that heading, give and take. So leave a comment for me. See you again next time. This is your girl, Queen Sharon, and this is Literature, all things literature with Sharon.